Welcome to the Oh My Gosh, You're Glowing podcast, a space where the root of bio-individual energetics is exposed and glowing from the inside out becomes inevitable. I'm your host, Lindsey Walker, former IT software developer turned multidimensional healer and founder of Soul Fam Wellness. This podcast is for healers, light workers, new earth leaders, and conscious women, aka awakened luminaries, who are lighting your own path forward, allergic to band-aid fixes, and respect the deep inner work. Every week, I bring you raw and honest conversations to activate your unique soul codes, supporting your grounded ascension. This is where multidimensional healing becomes a roadmap back to your soul. Because let's be real, living your entire life on a constant healing journey was never the goal anyways. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we have a guest episode today, but I wanted to come on here and give you a little intro on our guest and also just share some announcements. So we'll start with the announcements first, and then we'll get into who is on our show today. So you've probably been hearing me talk about a newer offering called the Crystal Clear Multidimensional Healing Week. So I wanted to let you know that reservations for June are now available. This is my absolute favorite way to guide you all through just an incredible clearing healing experience. This is for people going through any big transition in your life. This is for you if you've been playing really small and you know exactly what to do, but you just haven't been able to put forth the action yet. Your soul has been guiding you and telling you exactly what to do, but there's just a disconnect between what you know to do, the information, and the action and momentum that you need to actually get it done. This is clearing away the static. This is clearing the distortion from your field so that your soul connection is so crystal clear that you can move forward with the ease and momentum that you have been really looking for. I see so many people that are just playing small, honestly. Like their soul is saying like, hey, it is time to take the big moves. And they're like, I just don't know why I haven't done it yet. And when there's interference or distortion in the field, we can know exactly what to do, but we don't necessarily feel like we know how to do it, or we don't move forward, we don't follow through with it. So this immersion week, it's purposefully a 5 days, consecutive 5 days, because this is not just a one-off session. This is an opportunity for you to clear your field, get back into your body, connect to your soul, have a really just this lock-in connection for you to go out and be your true soul essence, who you came to be here on earth. So I have very limited spots because this is such a powerful one-on-one intensive, and you could DM me to find out more information. Information is going to be in the show notes below. But if this is something that you have been thinking about, June is now open. So I wanted to share that with you all. Okay, so Today's episode was actually going to be dropped in June. My original intention was June, next month. And after, we actually recorded this last week, since the recording to today, all of the conversations I've been having in this past weekend, just over the past couple days, have been so tightly connected to a lot of the conversations that I had with this guest in this episode today, that I just knew in my heart that it needed to be dropped this week, today, when you guys are hearing it. And so know that if you are here for this episode, there is absolutely a reason. And there's a lot of this collective energy floating around, especially about how can we, I don't want to give away the conversation that we have, but there's a lot of talk about failures, like what is a quote unquote failure, what it looks like, and then how we alchemize it in our life or how we choose not to, and what that really means. And we talk about so many other things, but there's just the essence of this conversation is so potent in the collective right now that I really wanted to make sure that this episode landed in your ears as it's super present. So I'm not going to go into any further. If you're here, you're meant to hear it, and I want you to hear it from her mouth, how it was explained and how we talked about it. So Our guest today is Nikki Norenberg. If you've never heard of her, get ready to experience a true embodied powerhouse because she is the founder of Embodied, a therapeutic dance experience that helps people release what they've been carrying and reconnect with their most alive, authentic selves. With over 25 years in the dance industry and extensive background spanning yoga, fitness, transformational coaching, and corporate marketing, Nikki brings a multidimensional perspective to the way she guides movement and self expression. She is known for creating immersive, emotionally powerful experiences that invite people out of their heads and back into the wisdom of their bodies. Nikki has partnered with brands including Aloe Yoga, FP Movement, Daily Harvest, Parallel, and Soho House. And I have had the pleasure of meeting Nikki in person and experiencing Embodied in person. I actually found her on the internet, as we all do, and she had actually gone through a similar program that I had with Nikki Novo. If you've heard me talk about the Soul Teacher program years ago, she was part of a prior group than I was in. And so we were kind of just like in the same adjacent circles. I knew that I had seen her, work with Nikki Novo and things like that. And I was looking for people in my area and I saw that she was in Austin. I am not in Austin, but I'm very close to it. And where I'm at, there's unfortunately not a whole lot of aligned souls that live here. I get to experience finding new ones more and more every single day. But I'm always very drawn to the people in Austin and go there often and like to visit often. So I was following her journey, just was really drawn to her, was super connected to her and what she was doing. And this was years ago, maybe somewhere around 2022, 2023-ish timeframe. And then I went and experienced some of her embodied immersive experiences that she did virtually, and then just went up and took some of her classes in person, and honestly have just absolutely loved every single time that we've connected. And I continue to keep up and connect with her as much as possible. And she is just one of those people that lights up a room by walking in it. And the fact that she teaches something to really get you in your body and have this full on experience as well. And I'll let you listen to her talk about it because she did such a great job, and it just, my description will not do it justice. But let me just tell you, I've experienced it both virtual and in person. And if you've heard me talk about guests on here, I only bring on the real deal. In fact, there's only one guest I've ever had on here that I have not actually met in person. It's not a requirement to meet me in person to be a guest on here, but I only invite people that I really feel called to bring on. And I literally just got this ping to bring her on. And it was for no other intention than to just have a conversation with her. In fact, these podcasts and these guest episodes are just for me to connect with women and entrepreneurs and people that I love, that I'm so inspired by and lit up by myself. And so I want to bring them to my listeners, to all of you. And so I am so, so grateful that you all get to experience her energy in this way, because she also, right now, this might change, but right now there's not a whole lot of her out there doing speaking. And so hearing a lot of the behind the scenes of how she explains Embodied and really the behind the scenes of it is a very unique experience. So I'm going to leave it at that because I want you to experience her full episode in its full real rawness. But I just wanted to come on and give you a little background of how we met and why I'm just so excited for you to all meet her. So I'll stop with that because, if I let myself continue, I'll just like record a whole nother episode and that's not needed. So without further ado, Nikki Norenberg, everyone, founder of Embodied. Enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today we have a super special guest with us here. If you're watching on video, you already see her beautiful shining face on the screen. And I am so, so grateful to be welcoming Nikki Norenberg onto the podcast today, the founder of Embodied. And if you don't know what that is, you will by the end of this episode, because she is not only a powerhouse, but this methodology that she created, that came to her to bring to the world is one of the most special body movement creations that I personally have ever experienced. And I brought her on today because I truly believe all of you need to know who this woman is. So, Nikki, welcome to the podcast.
Wow, thanks for such a great intro. I feel welcomed.
Yes, you are so welcomed. You are so welcomed here. And, I call this podcast the Oh My Gosh, You're Glowing podcast, but it's really because the messages and the work that we talk about here is all about glowing from the inside out. So glowing can seem maybe a little bit superficial, but it's all about what can we really do internally that allows the glow to just automatically happen. And I feel like you embody, which is funny. Okay, I feel like I'm going to use the word embody a lot. You embody that exact mission, that exact statement that really is built around this podcast. And the fact that you have a modality called embodied just makes
Yeah.
it that much better.
Yeah. I love that. I think that even just like the title of your podcast says so much about the energy that it brings too. I think
Mhm.
that there's so much intellectualizing that we do and we listen and we learn in podcasts. And of course that's important. But I think what we're all really trying to feel and what we're all yearning for is an energetic. And I think the glowing aspect is the what comes after feeling good, feeling full, feeling your light turn on.
Mhm.
Um, so I think that that's just it's really a beautiful setting of the tone of what people get to experience in this space.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Like you described everything that I have felt and why I created this. So, check validation as to why you're here in case anyone was confused. So I just really want to jump right into it because for the people who have no idea who you are, that's going to change right here, right now. So stay with us because you are going to want to know everything about this woman. But I brought you on because you created something called Embodied, and I have had the just pure joy to experience it both virtually and in person. And every single time, there is an energy that you bring to it that truly transformed me into another dimension in the best way. So, can you just start off by telling us what embodied is, how you created it? I know that's probably a very big question. So, I'm making it generic and broad to allow you
Mhm.
to just, choose where to start, like what piece of it wants to come through for you today.
Yeah. So the way that I'm describing it right now, because I feel like it's kind of evolved over the years and how I'm describing it, um, I call it a therapeutic dance experience. And so it's really rooted in contemporary dance, which to non-dancers essentially just means very open, fluid, expressed emotive movement, in an effort to help women get out of their minds and into their bodies. A place where I think a lot of us think that we're connected, but we really are not. We're
Mhm.
listening to the mind. We're not really listening to the body because the body has a lot more to share than we're giving it space to. And so I find, embodied is definitely a full body workout. It is full energy. We go to a lot of places. We're activating muscle groups. We're moving big. Um, but I call it mostly like a work in. That's just like the byproduct of like, that's the benefit, like the glow, right? That's the benefit that you didn't realize you were coming here for, but it's really a work in. It's a place where we get to feel connected to ourselves. We get to process, we get to um, touch the pieces of ourselves that maybe we dimmed a long, long time ago. And it's much more of a soul experience than anything, I would say. Like I even had a couple girls take the class today for the first time, and they were like, I did not know it was going to be like that at all. They were like, I'm so pleasantly surprised, and I've never done anything like this before. But I think that a lot of dance either falls into the category of super disciplined, I am a
Mhm.
dancer, or super fitnessy,
Yeah.
right? And to me, as a dancer my whole life, which I can get into my story in just a moment, like the most precious moments where dance meant something to me was when I was alone and I was either, processing a breakup with my like sixth grade boyfriend or, moving through big identity shifts. And it was just this constant way where I didn't need to have the words. I didn't need to understand. I just got to let my body move as its own language and let that move through me. And it made me feel so myself. And so I was like, we need this. Society needs this, not just dancers. Like
Mm.
everybody needs this. Like I feel like when I was growing up, I was always so sad for my friends who were in regular traditional sports because I was like, you have no idea like what you're missing in dance. And to be able to now be at this place in my adult life where I'm getting to give that back without people feeling like there's a barrier to entry of identifying with that word or with that, with the craft, and just say every single body, every human is welcome in this space. I say leave your view of dance and measuring dance of being good or bad at the door, because what we do in this room is we just move as human beings. That's what we do. Dance is inside of every soul. And so that's a long-winded, multi-layered way of describing embodied.
I love it. I loved every bit of that. And as you're talking, especially when you called it the work in, I love
Mm,
that part because it does really bring you in. You said it's a soul expression, it's a soul experience. It truly is. And like I said earlier, I've had the privilege to experience it multiple times. And I always say, like, I don't really go to it for a workout necessarily, but it just kind of is a byproduct. Like you're moving your body. Like there is a lot of movement happening. Like you are moving your body. I end up with like places in my body are so sore that I didn't even know I
yes.
had. Like, where did those muscles come from? I'll wake up the next morning and go, I didn't even go to the gym. Why am I sore? Oh, yeah, I was
Hmm.
in my loft doing embodied. So, like,
Hmm.
it definitely works the body, but it's almost like I forget about that part in the moment. It's just that my body is telling me how sore I am later. That's why I
Hmm.
realize, oh, it was a workout, quote unquote. But in the
Hmm.
moment, it's very much a personal experience.
Hmm.
And I also feel like this is just like a strange caveat. I really have wanted to tell you this. I don't know if I have before. I sweat the most doing an embodied class versus anything I have ever done, a regular dance class, a CrossFit class, a heated yoga class. Like, I don't know what it is. I could have the AC on and I do that class and I come out full hair, just like soaked. That's like part of the
Yes.
reason I didn't do it before this episode. I would have looked like a drowned rat. There's
Yeah.
like a talk about a therapeutic element to it.
Hmm.
It's like the deep sweat that you have in these just like soul level detoxing experiences. Like, it's not a normal sweat. Saunas can't touch this.
Hmm. Well, and I think that you bring up such a beautiful point, because what I think is truly happening is, especially with the fluid, like open movement, you're getting into nooks and crannies of the body that potentially have not been accessed.
Hmm.
Because so much of movement is very linear, is very structured, which keeps us in the same plane, keeps us touching the same
Mm.
muscle groups. And when we're talking about circular movements and like loose and open and like getting ourselves to get comfortable exploring some different areas, all of a sudden we're accessing muscle fibers, emotion, energy everywhere. It's like everywhere all at once. And that's why I say like the greatest gift that you get from embodied is feeling alive, because your
Yeah.
heart is racing, you're sweating, you're unearthing these like stuck energy points in your body that you didn't know were stuck energy, and you're moving through so much. It's truly, I mean, talk about lymphatic drainage. it's like it's like a biohack through that, but it really is reaching into crevices that are so excited to be um to be visited.
Hmm. You do feel so alive afterwards. That's a great way to explain it. Oftentimes I'll do it and I'll come downstairs if my husband is home and he's like, "Why are you so happy? Like, what did you do?" I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I was upstairs. I just, did this embodied." And he was like, "Oh, okay. Well, this is
Hmm.
great. I'm loving this."
Hmm.
And I really want to go back to the piece about you saying that it's not just for dancers, because
Hmm.
I think there's this healing aspect that you kind of touched on. Like, one, for people that maybe dance didn't leave them with like the best taste in their mouth. And
Hmm.
also, two, for the people who are like, I'm not a dancer, I can't dance, I don't want to move, whatever the block to that piece is, it really feels like it brings everyone in.
Hmm. Yeah, and that was so intentional. I mean, I spent most of my life in a competitive space, and I also taught
Mm.
and choreographed, and it was like I was a much different instructor in that camp, because I was living and breathing the industry. And
Yeah.
there is so much just like perfection and Um, and then I had a very like dramatic falling out of love with dance, and I transitioned into yoga because I was like the acceptance, the um ability to come as you are. I was like, what do you mean you can come as you are? What do you mean you can't be
Mhm.
like, because dance never like there was never a day where you could be tired, hormonal,
Mhm.
emotional. It was like you always pushed through. And so I really loved that concept, and I thought, gosh, how could this be applied to dance? Because then all of a sudden it just opens up the gate where now every single person is getting an opportunity to meet themselves where they are, see what's
Mhm.
there. Some days people leave embodied, like cracking up, high on life, feeling like a kid. Some people leave feeling like really tender because they've touched some like
Mhm.
deep emotions in themselves. And I think that that's so important, is to be able to come as you are. Um, and it also is a testament of like listening to your body, right? Holding
Mhm.
holding yourself with gentleness on the days that it really needs it, but like leaning in on the days that you're like, no, I'm done playing small. And for people who have never danced, I think it also is such a beautiful introduction to removing the measurement. And
Mhm.
that's like the thing. I always say this, like dance, for some reason, everybody measures as black
Yeah.
and white. You're good at it or you're bad at it. And I was like, what if we just are human beings moving to music?
Mhm.
Like, think about all of the different cultures and time periods where dance is literally part of how they exist. It's like
Yeah.
America, of course, decides to like capitalize on it and make it really competitive and try to be the best. And so now we have just tarnished this beautiful medicine that has been teaching people connection and processing and love from the beginning of time. And so it's just like bringing it back into a place of like, no, this has always been for everybody.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of elements in embodied where, I say to people, I say, I don't want this to be about doing the moves just like me. Like everything I do up here is an offering. So if it doesn't feel good in your body, do something else, do it at a different pace. I want you to really move like you. I don't want you to focus on getting it right. The measurement, pick it out. Pick it out. I'm just happy
Mhm.
that you're in the room moving and trying to see what your body has to say to you.
Yeah, that part I think and that's the way that you lead it is just the really healing part because even I'm someone that loved to do dance and was in like professional dance classes when I was younger. And then as soon as it got to the piece that it was going to get more professional and more, I don't know, rigid and structured, I bailed and I was out, not because I didn't love dance, but because from a very young age, I saw the politics, I saw the
Mhm.
piece that I didn't love, the really rigid schedule and all the things that felt like it kind of took the fun out of it. Even as like a
Mhm.
10-year-old, I could see that. And when you just say, you know, you get to be with yourself and just move with your body how you are meant to move, it's just such a an invitation to come back to yourself. And some of us have had that experience of being in a dance class and knowing that our body can move and knowing how freeing that feels. And then some of us have never had that invitation
Mhm.
and has
Mhm.
have never been in a dance class and have avoided it our entire lives. And so
Mhm.
coming into a class, I've been in a couple classes with you when there's brand new people and just like watching them, their experience, like listening to them afterwards and just the awe that they have in their eyes after of like what just happened. I am just it's always so exciting to see and to just like witness you creating these rooms over and over again for these people.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I had a brand new girl this morning, two brand new women. And this one girl said, I'm really shy. So there are elements of this class that was very out of my comfort zone. And she's like, so I couldn't drop into the degree that other people are
Mhm.
sharing. But she said, but I'm so glad that I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so glad that I took the first step. And I think that, like, what I said to her is, I said, it's like a muscle, like genuinely the comfort, because when we take dance classes just for like the fun and the giddy and the fitness, we only get to a certain level. But if we're trying to get into the medicine of dance, we do have to go a little bit deeper.
Hmm.
And continuing to come back, continuing to show up, it's like the judgment just drops to the floor. We do
Yeah.
this in every embodied class, it's called like witnessing, where depending on the size of the room and everything and how I'm feeling, there's some sort of like walking up to the front of the room, either with a partner, a small group, or an individual, and you dance. And you dance for yourself, most importantly. You dance for yourself, then you turn around, you dance for the room, and you take a bow. And a lot of people get really nervous about that part. And there was a
Mhm.
woman who shared a couple weeks ago, she said, I have now been to 5 embodied classes. She said, the first time you asked me to do that, I hated you. I'm not going to lie. She's like, I thought, who does this woman think she is? And then she goes, and then the next time I came back and it got a little bit easier. And she goes, and today I went first and I had so much
Mm.
fun. And I was like, and that's it, right? That's the medicine where it's like, where it actually translates into the world, where
Mhm.
maybe something that would typically intimidate you or make you feel like not enough or something, you hold yourself back. And then there's all these stories and you're like, oh, I'm just going to do it anyway. If she left and never came back, she would never have had the opportunity to say, I just went first and I had fun. Because by slowly bringing herself back, her body got to like create a new capacity for this like perceived stress that she was creating for herself. And then all of a sudden she's like, wait, I am this big. My capacity is this bright. Like I get to hold all of this and I get to go first. And so I really think that there's so much that happens in the room that gets to be taken outside of the room because dance specifically hits a being seen note. It hits a
Mhm.
taking up space note. It hits an imperfection note. And so it like touches all of these areas that's like really riddle us with stress today and allows us to feel it in our bodies, which is why I called it embodied. It's like we want to try things on for size. We want to try on what it feels like to take up more space. We talk about wanting to take up more space, but what is it actually like to take up space physically with your body, with your energy, with your eyes, with your movement, right? It's like putting it down to the simplest way of like, okay, you want to take up space,
Mhm.
show it with your body.
Yeah, and not only that, showing it, but like, you're like you're saying, moving things out. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
having that experience every single time is so different, but you don't have to like let it sit in you either. It's not this experience of like, go up and speak every time and then like the energy just never moves. You just like stand there like bottling everything up every single time. It's a constant movement, a constant cleaning of your energy field every single time. And yeah, every single class is different. Like you mentioned, just the people that show up, whether it's virtual or in person, like it
Mm-hmm.
creates a different energy of the room. The theme that you bring is different. Sometimes like you're saying it's very tender, sometimes it is like this just excited, joyful aliveness. And I know I have even had times where like one time I showed up feeling really confident and just like really excited to be there, and the next time I kind of wanted to like be in the back of the room or whatever I was feeling was not it wasn't this linear move. It wasn't this linear
Right.
experience of like the first time I showed up and I wanted to hide, and the fifth time I
Mm-hmm.
showed up I wanted to, go first
Mm-hmm.
necessarily. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's not linear, but I will say like, you know, going from I've had some experiences where I shed dance completely from my life as an adult and then finally kind of like went back into it and literally started at the very back corner as far as I could get. Like I could barely get myself in the room. And then the fact that I was there, it was just like, can I just be 1 foot in and then leave? And
Uh-huh.
then, by the time I got to your classes, I was, a very different person. But you do give people a different experience every single class. And it feels like the energy shows up for each person and whatever medicine that you're needing. And yeah, sometimes like I've felt really open to the medicine and really open to
Mm-hmm.
receiving, and other times not so much. And I just had to
Mm-hmm.
get myself there to move. And
Totally.
that's been I think that's also what's been really great for me for like the virtual setting. Obviously, I don't live near
Mm-hmm.
you as well, so the in-person stuff is just
Mm-hmm.
kind of when it's a nice to have kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the virtual piece, like when you get to be with yourself in a space where someone is guiding you into these depths and you do get to be alone and not have anyone watching you, I think there's a medicine to the people watching you in a room, and that's really healing. And there's also an experience to being at home by yourself virtually and not having to worry about people are watching you or not watching you or next to you or feeling their energy.
Totally. Well, I think that that brings up such a good point. I think that, I mean, every practice, right? There's a specific power to being in the flesh with people,
Hmm.
sharing, creating, receiving, giving energy. Like that's one thing. But then to be sacred in your own home, it's just you. So the only energy that you're really relating and connecting to physically is your own, even if you're being guided by someone else. It's
Hmm.
almost more reliant on the self
Hmm.
to really fuel whatever's moving through you. And there's such a different purpose for each. And I think
Yeah.
that finding the balance between both is really good because I think, even from an in-person setting, I always say like every person in the space, if one of them was missing, it wouldn't be the same experience because we so
Hmm.
uniquely contribute. And that's for like any class or community or experience created. It's like really everybody plays such a specific role. Like talk about like a mini soul contract for like an hour.
Hmm.
But then with yourself, it's really putting you as the main source of all things, which might feel like more pressure or might feel like more relief.
Yeah.
Um, all just different ways to listen to your body for sure.
Yeah, I love that you have multiple ways to tap into that. Like you said, each one is a different form of the medicine. So I would love to dive a little bit deeper into how this experience really found you. And I've heard you
Mhm.
describe it a little bit, so that's why I say found you.
Mhm.
Can you take us to the moment where Embodied found you? Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to rewind just a little bit because I was a dancer my whole life.
Hmm.
Moved to Los Angeles to pursue it professionally, had a massive falling out with it, transitioned into yoga, transitioned into coaching, had a coaching career for probably like 5.5 years. Um, and I could feel there was something that wanted to shift. I was
Hmm.
like, I'm happy, I'm fulfilled with all of the work that I'm doing. I love yoga, I love coaching. But I was like, but something just still doesn't feel 100%, like not 100% of me is online. Like I'm
Hmm.
like tapping into gifts, but I'm like, but there's like an unlock that I was not touching. And I think that I had kept dance aside for so long because of like trauma that I was just like not wanting to welcome it back in, especially in a traditional form. And but then I knew I was like, once I started doing like some more events and stuff, I was incorporating just a little bit of like what now is like adjacent to embodied, where I was like, I'm gonna do some dance, like repetitive kind of
Hmm.
somatic-y stuff and just like add it into my workshops and retreats and stuff. And I had fun. And I was like, but that's not quite it. And I could feel this movement piece coming closer. And Lindsey and I were talking about this right before we started, but I'm a manifesting generator in human design. So when I get an inkling of an idea, I'm like, grab it, do something with it now. Must do. It's urgent. Everything is urgent.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, the energy is here, so I have to use it.
Hmm.
Um, in a lot of ways that's been great, but in a lot of ways I have learned the hard way, including this. So I was like, okay, there's a movement, something, it's coming, I don't know what it is. I grabbed hold of it, I created something, and I immediately hosted a class. And it was like fitting a square peg in a round hole. I was actually like mortified because I had been a teacher and a dancer my whole life, and I was like, that was the most misaligned room, class. I don't know what happened. In my head it felt great, but
Hmm.
doing it felt so off. Everybody felt off. And so then I crawled back into my hole. I was like, okay, I'm not going to force this. And I just gave it some space. And then I thought to myself, I was like, I don't want to figure it out here. I need to become the vessel that's going to receive what this is. And I'm a huge fan of Liz Gilbert in all of the ways. And her book, Big Magic, like fascinated me. And I was just like, okay, so I need to become the vessel that the idea can find. I need to like put myself in alignment, right? We talk about manifestations. It's like you have to be the right radio station for the
Hmm.
manifestation to find you. And I went to New York City and I called it an inspiration trip. And I was in my creative energy the whole time. I was going to art museums. I was um, going to like art classes. I was taking classes of all movement kinds. And I just said, I just need to be in my body. I don't want to have any need to be productive. I just want to be in the creative flow. And I had a huge emotional release in a class. And then I was like walking through the city, and this Mumford song came on. And like as it built, all of a sudden in a single moment, it was like a code had landed in my body. And I was like, oh my gosh, it has arrived. I ran back to my hotel and I like wrote down the whole thing. And it is legitimately exactly what the class is today, the structure. And it's
Wow.
like, it's insane because what was dropped in is like, it fully aligns with the chakras. It's a full hero's journey. It's also a full, like, methodical, physical. It's like it touched so many layers and it just dropped in. And in that moment, it just made me really realize we really were doing the whole ideas thing backwards. We're trying to manufacture them with our minds when in reality, like, embodied to me is its own entity. Like it feels
Mhm.
like she has her own mission. And I am the vessel to lead the way. And so I have to remind myself of that often, of like the separation of self and her, because it does feel sometimes so enmeshed because I'm like doing it. I am it. It is also part of my story, but like she really is truly her own unique entity. And so I'm constantly practicing, like, what do you need? Because she also is like, you're not meant to do this by yourself.
Mhm.
We're meant to be everywhere. You can't be everywhere, but this medicine needs to be everywhere. So start dispersing, start teaching people this method. And so really, like, what I've now been trying to do is just listen to her instead of listen to me, which is very hard.
I bet. I could feel that. But that is, oh my gosh, it's so interesting. I've heard you describe that story so many different times, and I love it even more every single time I hear it.
Mm.
It is so inspiring. And I think sometimes I'm also like, I want that. How do I make that
Hmm.
happen? And you kind of described this experience where like you put yourself in the space to just receive the idea. But as manifesting generator myself, I know I can like pull things out that aren't necessarily right. So what was the difference? Like how did you finally get yourself into this place that was like, I am taking myself on this creative journey. I'm taking on myself on this creative trip. I'm going to be in this just creative surrender mode, not going after it. Cause I guess for me, like I hear stories like that and I'm like, cool, how do I make that happen for me? And I'm almost trying to recreate someone else's journey. Like you had heard the story of Big Magic. So how did you actually get into the surrender without just
Mm.
trying to pull down another idea in misalignment?
I think because I had a mini failure first.
Mm,
Like, I do think that was necessary. Like, I don't know if I would have gotten to my big magic story had I not tried and failed. And I think that that's like such an
mm,
important part about just trying things, is because when things don't work, that's also huge feedback. And I didn't see it as I should never do this. I saw it more as like, this is not the right time. I just felt that on like a cellular level. And I think I also, it was right around the time that I literally think I got pregnant with my son the next week. And I knew that, like, I knew he was coming. So I also had this permission of surrender on a deeper degree of like, I am entering into an incubation period regardless. So I had no pressure on myself because
mm.
really, I think that ideas, they, they, they don't want pressure. And I think that we so quickly try to monetize them or make them seen by the public. And I think what they really need is just like space and time, and not a strategy. They more so are like, can you come play in my arena? Can you come be in my arena? Because the leader that I was in coaching was, yes, very spiritual and embodied in a different way. But this leader needed to be literally reclaiming her artist, her creative, because everything that I do with Embodied is creative. Every single thing, from the music to the sequencing to the movement, the theming, like everything is creative. And so I was like, that's the energy that I really I need to tap into. I need to feel it in my body. And so I feel like for anyone who's kind of like reaching for, if they feel that looming thing, it's like, but what's different about that than what or who you are now? What's the energy?
Yeah. Well, yeah, the whole becoming the person that receives something instead of trying to like go out and grab it. And I really think the part that you said about just trying or doing, you even said the thing that felt like a quote unquote failure was helpful to get to where you ultimately landed. Because I know this happens with myself and I talk to other people where it's like, I have this idea and let me think about it. And, I've had what I would call many failure attempts at all
Hmm.
kinds of different things. It was literally just going through my software yesterday and like, reorganizing things and deleting things because it was just a cluttered mess. And I looked at the amount of creations I had that I would call a quote unquote failure. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of shit that I created, first off, that I didn't really
Mm,
realize. And while they would be quote unquote failures as to, the logical sense,
hmm.
I learned so much from each one. Like if I didn't do all of those, like if I looked at every single one because I was going through like tags and names, and I could sit there and look at every single one and know exactly what lesson I learned for every single one that I
Yes.
wouldn't have had if I didn't actually do them. Did I continue them? No. But I really think that piece that you said right there of just, even though wasn't something that stuck, it was a piece to making the ultimate idea and creation come to life. I think that's just gold.
Yeah, because I think that, all of these things that we've created require embodiment of a trying it
Mhm.
on energy. And I think that it's more of like a stepping stone of like getting us closer and closer. It kind of reminds me of like dating. It's like each person you date gets you a little
Yeah.
bit closer to your soulmate. It's like the same thing. We're kind of like dating ideas or creations. And it's not that any of them are wrong. It's just that it's bringing out a different version of us each time. And like, even for me, like I've been doing a ton of events and I've been doing events for years, but it's just all of a sudden in the last week because I did three huge events.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, and now I understand why I should have done that differently. Or now I know exactly what I
Mhm.
need to do. And I'm shocked that it took me like 3 years to figure this out, but I'm now at a place where I'm realizing, okay, I had to experience this thing and
Mhm.
feel it for me to now choose differently next time.
Mhm.
And making sure that it doesn't collapse us, but like you said, it's like it's the rudder that just is like, okay, now I know this, and now next time that's where I'm starting instead of
Yep.
that's where I'm ending.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I mean, yeah, each experience is going to give us a lesson, but I think you have to be open to the lesson too. And I just say that because there's like this grasping for perfectionism or grasping for like things to be right, whether that's a creation, whether that's a business, like whatever it is, even like trying to find your partner, like just grasping for like the thing to be the one, even if it doesn't feel right, and
Hmm.
being okay with it maybe not feeling perfect. And like you'll just know, and if you've had that, I think like I'll feel that in some aspects of my life. Like, for example, I've gotten really good at feeling when something clicks for me with health because that was just like that's where
Mm.
I've been for so long. And so, like, I feel like I have that level of my life like on lock. Like, it's
Yeah.
either in alignment or not in alignment.
Yeah.
But then that same concept, you take it out to business or you take it out to a creation or your relationship, whatever it is for you,
Hmm.
and then somehow it just doesn't translate, but it's the same thought. It's just you have to practice that muscle differently. And I know for me that I sometimes will like see a certain area of my life so clearly. And even though that same method applies to every other area of my
Hmm.
life, it's like the clarity is not there. And that's okay to like build that muscle.
Because I think there's one that we're more comfortable with, and there's
Mm,
one that brings up way more shit. Like,
yeah.
and I think that that's so true for me with business. Like business has been like my greatest love and teacher because I'm like, to your point, I'm like in relationships, in other places, I feel like I really understand the process, but when it comes to my business, because it's so personally tied to like being seen, our worthiness, money, like there are
Mhm.
so many charged elements that when we take it into our own hands as entrepreneurs, it just becomes like a completely different beast. And I feel like constantly like learning and dancing with that is what we get to do as entrepreneurs. It's kind of like if we don't enjoy that, we shouldn't do it. But like while we're in it, just constantly like finding the compassion of like this will always be the teacher. This will always be the teacher.
Yeah. It's the gift that you didn't know you were going to get when you became an entrepreneur. That's what I keep telling
Truly,
people.
truly. It's like, and here you go.
Didn't know I wanted that, but I suppose I do. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and the one piece you touched on a little bit now that we're kind of talking about like different areas of life is motherhood. So it
Hmm.
sounds like Embodied really came in at the same time your son came in, or very like
Hmm.
within a week, which I just think is wild. And having being in that receiving and surrender energy, I mean, that is so cool. And
Hmm.
also, you kind of became a mother to two different things at the same time, and they require very different energy. So,
Hmm.
how do you continue to work with both of those relationships while becoming a first-time mother?
Yeah, I feel like what was so beautiful about Embodied is that it got to begin before Sully was in the world. So it's
Mm,
like the initial rip of the band-aid of like, okay, I'm trying again with this new idea. And it just so happened to like be really loved and adored pretty quickly. So I was like,
mhm.
thank God. But it already had its own rhythm built. And so once I had Sully, I got to really like just tend to the roots of like just the complete shift that motherhood is. But then there came this time that I was just like, I'm so ready to get back into it for myself. And that's what's such a gift about facilitating Embodied is that me as an instructor, I am doing it 100% with you guys.
Mhm.
So I'm receiving the medicine of it too. I get to express and feel into the bigness, the fullness, the processing. I mean, I'm holding the space, so I don't necessarily go into my own deep processing, but I'm still feeling a lot.
Mhm.
And so I was like, I'm so ready to get back into that. And it was such a gift to get to land back in because it was exciting and um it was fulfilling to have something kind of like waiting for me, I guess, that already
Mhm.
had energy moving into it, that I didn't feel like I had to really like heavy lift. But I will say that, you know, my nervous system, I have never experienced nervous system crash like I experienced in my first year of postpartum. It's just like it's nothing that anyone can ever really prepare you for until you deal with it yourself. Like as somebody who's so connected to my body, I didn't even know that that's what was happening until I had a complete crash um and then I had to take a break and listen to my body. And I think that, you know, I've a coach said this to me a long time ago and I just felt like it was the greatest advice, but they said like your purpose is going to constantly be something testing you and teaching you lessons. You're constantly going to be dancing with it. So I'm like, even in the last like 2.5 years of being a mom, like my body, I have had a multitude of different moments where I've had to really be like, are you listening to your body? You're telling people to listen to your body, but like, are you listening to your body right now? And so it's really humbled me to just like slow down and tune into my own practices and tune into my own body because my body is continuing to speak to me in ways that it used to not or that I
Mhm.
used to not hear, right? And
Yeah.
so um it has been a beautiful constant keeping me in check and keeping me connected to my own body because I also feel I also feel like um embodied requires a lot of energy. And
Mhm.
so I have to also be replenished to give. Um, and so, yeah, it's just like required me to really genuinely take care of myself.
Yeah, and what has Embodied given you as a mother?
Oh, you know, how can I answer that question? Because the way that my mind just went is it makes me feel like a kid again.
Mm,
And I think that, you know, when you become a mother, you are obviously responsible for another person's life. And there's this, you know, these bigger shoes that you're holding. You're ushering a new spirit into the world and making different choices than maybe you've ever made or your family made. But I also think that the thing that actually nourishes us from the inside out is to be able to touch that childlike sense of self, because our kids want us to feel that and want to feel that energy. They want us to be full of life and not always focused on, discipline or making sure everybody's learning something. Like they really want us to feel so alive and exuberant and playful. And I think that what embodied has given me is it's given me this playful sense of myself back. It's given me just a silly energy that I think hardened, over some years, and it allows for me to turn on music in the middle of like a stiff moment in the house and just be like, let's loosen up. It makes me remember that dance is always accessible and that that frequency can exist in a matter of moments.
Hmm. Oh, I love that. How have you seen embodied impact other mothers? I know not everyone is a mother. Like I am not a mother
Mhm.
and I come to your
Mhm.
classes, so I know this is not everyone. So maybe like how have you seen it impact other mothers or just women in general? Like have you seen it differ for mothers versus women who aren't yet, or just in general, have you seen it impact women in ways that maybe you weren't expecting?
Yeah, I think that it's a similar story, just like fill in the blank with the details.
Yeah.
I think for mothers specifically, it is the return of their body. Our bodies are used to create life and then feed life and then, completely takes a different form and shape. And so I think it's like feeling sexy in their own skin again and feeling
Hmm.
um just feeling there's a lot of like reclamation energy. It's like the reclaiming of a version of themselves. I feel like a lot of people connect into previous versions, whether it's like your inner teen or your inner child, or like, not that we're ever saying, I want to go back to her, but it's like, but I miss parts of what she gave me. And so
Hmm.
I feel like for a lot of women, it's a remembrance of like, wow, that energy of me inside of me is so powerful still now. And, there's these two sisters that came to my class like every week for a year. And one of them was a full time, actually, both of them were full time moms. And the one realized, she's like, oh my gosh, like I'm realizing I'm like withholding my voice. I'm withholding like my energy. I'm withholding my gifts because I've given it all to my kids. And now I'm like realizing like I'm ready to take that back. And so she like ended up doing a coaching program, and now she is a coach for, younger women transitioning from like college into career and all of this stuff. And then the other woman ended up becoming an embodied facilitator.
Wow.
And so those are just like two examples, but it's like I feel that the women that keep coming back remember what they're capable of, not from a sense of like, I want to hold all these things, I want to do all these big things, but it's the reclaiming of like, oh, I've always known that I am gifted in this way, and now I'm just giving myself permission to let her out because I'm
Hmm.
feeling her inside of me and I can't unfeel her.
Yeah. Oh, that is the best explanation I've ever heard. And I can 100% attest to
Mm.
everything you just said about, especially coming back to yourself. And I really like, because I know you've done different themed ones of like inner child, inner teen, things like that, of what you said about not wanting to go back to a version of yourself, but like revisiting those pieces that you miss. I think that's just such a great way to even invite that into your life, like inviting those pieces
Mhm.
in, because I hear a lot of people say, like, this was, especially if you're in a time in your life where like maybe it doesn't look all rainbows and butterflies and there are a lot of challenges right now. It's so easy to go back into those moments and say, gosh, I wish we could just go back to that, because that from where I'm standing now looked way better than where I'm
Mhm.
at today. But it's like, you don't necessarily want to go back. Like maybe it doesn't look exactly perfect right now, but it wasn't exactly perfect then either. You're just not remembering all of the nitty-gritty details. You're
Mhm.
remembering the rainbows and butterflies part of it. But there are aspects to our previous versions of ourselves in whatever age and season that maybe we do want to revisit for certain reasons and do have such medicine that I think sometimes I've seen people push into a corner and say like that season's over, or it's either that season's over or I'm trying to get back to it and trying to almost like relive backwards. So
Hmm.
inviting it in is almost like, no, you can still come back in for this medicine, for this moment, but we don't have to backtrack or feel like we're like past tripping.
Hmm. Because I think that each chapter, like when I think of the inner child, I think about that as like our core essence, like
Mm.
before rules and like needing to fit in, like the way that we showed up, like our core essence really is an element of our inner child. And so connecting into that always has helped me feel like when I'm like missing my light or like missing the plot, I'm like, and what would my 5-year-old self, what would that energy come through as? And then the inner teen to me is like, no matter how cringe or messy or like crazy your teenage years were, I feel like courageous and curious.
Yeah.
Like when you want to go to a phase of your life when you were just like curious and just tried something on, it's like we can give her the gold medal for like thank you for showing me what it means to just like not care, because
Yeah.
then all of a sudden now we care a lot and we wish
Mhm.
that we could care less so that we could be courageous to go for the things that we crave. And I think that each chapter has just such um, potent themes, like you said, that we all still need today.
Mhm. Yeah, things that we tried or maybe didn't try and would still like to try today because we did care too much back then.
Sure, sure.
Just bring in that energy of like maybe someone else had that. I would like to experience that.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, I'd like to just be a teen again
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. I think just like sometimes it's like I don't want to be my version of a teenager, but like the essence of a teenager. Yes. Yes.
Uh-huh.
I sometimes
Uh-huh.
like to take that.
Yeah. Well, that's like I've been listening to like all this old emo punk rock music because I'm just
Uh-huh.
like I sing it in my car and I feel like I'm back in my like angsty, don't know how to process everything emotion. And I have like so much love for her because like
Mm.
she didn't know. She also wasn't like constantly trying to like biohack herself and make herself better. I was like, just existing as a human was
Yeah.
fascinating enough.
Yeah, yeah, you're totally right. And music really does take you to places. I mean, the fact that Embodied is music based as well,
Mhm.
and you're so intentional with the playlist that you create, like you can really take someone to very different places with music, which is such a powerful tool. I mean, like you're saying, just
Mhm.
listening to certain music will take you places. Add that in with some intentional movement, and you get transported.
Exactly. Well, and I kind of think that at least I felt this in my own way. Like I think some of us get so rigid and regimented in like
Hmm.
certain practices and like betterment. And I think that just turning on music to pull out an emotion will collapse time, or like, right? Like
Yeah.
it'll collapse time. It'll create the
Yeah.
frequency faster because it's felt. And
Yeah.
I wish I had all of the science behind the power of music and music therapy, but like there's literal frequencies moving through. Like I
Hmm.
could be in silence and trying to like access, let's say I'm trying to access my heart and in silence and I'm like meditating on my heart. But if I throw on a song that gets me into my heart, I'm there.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like one of the most powerful gifts we can give ourselves is like you're feeling something. If you want to shift it, find a song that's going to elevate you, shift it.
Hmm.
Or if you want to expand and get deeper, like sometimes if I'm in like a deeper emotional place, I'm like, what else is here? And so then I put on a like a deeper emotion song and then I get to sink in and actually feel it. Because I also think that in a way, music also acts as this container where it
Hmm.
holds you because there's a start and a finish, and there's an element of it that's putting you on your own journey. And I just think it's a really powerful tool.
Yeah, it's almost like the hack that a lot of people maybe don't see or kind of ignore, or almost try to force their way into trying to do it all on their own. And that's
Hmm.
like something that you're saying you can just like send yourself into that container so easily to be held by something like that that can not only transport you, but just like click on that energy so quickly that you're trying to access instead of making it feel like another mind game.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love that. So, you kind of mentioned that you are now expanding embodied and even training others right now. So, or
Mhm.
is that's continuing to evolve. So, what is that vision looking like of expanding outside of you? Like, I just want to know from like a behind the scenes as a founder, how does that feel?
Yeah.
Because like, look, if you're like resonating with her, like, yeah, everyone go check out Nikki. If you want to become an embodied instructor, like, yes, like I feel like that's really, that's a really, it's a given, but like I want to
Mhm.
hear how is it feeling for you to expand?
It is so exciting and so scary,
Hmm.
like at the same time, because I think I know that this modality is so incredibly powerful, and I believe it is meant to be everywhere. I've been lucky enough to kind of like bop around and do pop-ups in multiple cities across the US. And every time I leave, people say, where can I find something like this? There's nothing like
Hmm.
this that exists. I need this. And that's when I really like started answering the call because I kept hearing that. And I was like, this can be everywhere though, just not through me. Like, of course, I
Hmm.
wish I could split myself into 1,000 pieces and I love visiting new places and getting to share it for the first time. But um really calling forward the leaders, the movers, the people who know that medicine movement is the medicine that they are meant to give. Um, calling them forward because I really I think that it's a powerful mission and it holds a lot of responsibility. So it's not just like a cute little hip hop class that you're going to do on the side. Like it's something that I really feel like if your heart and your mission is like, I know that the level of transformation and empowerment that I am meant to make here on this planet is possible and meant to happen. And it's through movement and maybe
Hmm.
like some other things too. But like, you know, that the power of movement is the way. And I also think that it's just like in this time in history, people are waking up to that. Like
Yeah.
somatics is everywhere, and like people are actually starting to care about movement. And so yeah, I have teacher trainings, and then it gives people the opportunity to license the brand, which would allow for them to open up their own mini embodied business in their city and really grow and expand it to their community with a ton of support on the back end, like at the HQ level of
Hmm.
marketing, business support, playlist and choreography, and continued education. But the reason why I said it's so beautiful because like that vision for me, I'm like, let's be everywhere. I want everyone to be transforming with this method. But the scary part is like giving it off
Hmm.
and just seeing the vision shift and evolved in the things that I don't have control over, you know. Uh, but that gets to be my surrender experiment
Hmm.
is releasing the control and trusting that embodied the entity is selecting the right people who she believes is meant to carry this mission into the world.
Ooh, it feels like it's like this another level of your surrender, like the moment it came in, and now this kind of feels like 2.0.
For sure. For sure. Because it's like it's a deep process.
Hmm.
The and facilitating embodied, I will say, is, you can have fitness background, yoga background, dance background, and it just is different to facilitate it because it's not just telling people what to do and how to do it. It's like accessing energy, emotion, frequency from your body, from your voice. It's holding a space in a different way. It's creating a transformational journey and arc. And there's a lot of layers that go into it. And so for, my teachers who are in the training now, they're just really learning how to access like their range of leadership because they're all exceptional teachers. And
Hmm.
now it's like, and what makes you an embodied leader? What makes a class good versus great? Because it has all to do with how the facilitator is holding, is speaking, is moving themselves, because we are really the symbol of it's okay to go there. We're
Mhm.
the like safety of like
Yeah.
it's okay to be this big, this wild, this loose, this weird. Like we are the symbol of that. And so it's a deep leadership awakening, but it's also just like so beautiful because uh it touches like every single chakra.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's so cool. I'm sure that the teachers in your training, it's like, yeah, you're becoming a teacher for this method, but it just feels like an unearthing of yourself in
for
a
sure.
way that you might not have even known.
For sure. Yes. So this is not just like a certificate. This is like a much deeper, bigger call.
Well, I'm very excited for Embodied to be everywhere. Like I see the vision of like going to different cities and like Embodied just being like a not generically like a yoga studio, but like seeing it everywhere of like, oh my gosh, I could go here and take an embodied class. Like that is the coolest vision. And I'm so excited for you to continue to just live it out and bring it to more people because I mean, like I said, I've done dance classes and I love dance classes and I love movement of all kinds, but truly, like the energy behind this particular modality, it is its own energy. It is its own entity. It has its own mission, and I felt it. And I'm so excited for others to experience it as well. So, thank you so much for just coming on and sharing your wisdom, your your energy even being here. I know that people are going to be just transformed with what you said. And I'm really, really grateful that you shared yourself with our listeners today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, where can people find you? Where can they find Embodied if they are like, I have got to try this thing out that they are
Mhm.
talking about? Like, what is this? Where can they find it? Where can they experience it?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm probably the most active on Instagram. I have a personal page, which is at Nikki.Norenberg, and then the embodied page is at I am embodied, spelt with a Y. And so those are the two places that I hang out on the daily where you'll get like just like content from all different angles and places. But if you want to take the method and also try on moving meditations, which are, a microdosed version of the class, they're audio only. They're really beautiful ways, kind of like a fusion of what I just mentioned with like the
Mhm.
song and the frequency taking you into a deeper place. Those are all available on embodied.com. So EMBODYED.com, and everybody gets 14 days free. So you will not be charged after the 14, or if you cancel before the 14 days. It's a really long period of time for you to get in there and explore classes. And I have full 21-day programs and moving meditations, and really just an opportunity for you to feel into this form of movement, um, for self connection and reclamation, that reclamation energy.
Yeah, having the different lengths of a class, like you said, like the moving meditations, the shorter ones, and then the full classes are really, really great because I go in there all the time and it's like, okay, if I've carved out an hour, I'll drop into a full one. If I'm just like, I need to connect with myself for 10 minutes, like there's that option too, which I absolutely love. So yes, all the links will be below. I'll put them all in the show notes for you to check them out. And Nikki also has some really viral dancing videos in her kitchen that you have to go check out. They're so inspiring. Like I don't know what it is about like you make me want to be like a professional dancer in my kitchen. So
Oh,
please go watch those too. It would
you're
make
so
my
funny. Yeah. I know I'm like so sad that I'm injured because
own.
I'm like, I'm not living up the kitchen dancing, but no, it is funny. What I've noticed is that when videos take you 5 seconds to create, those are the ones that go viral
Yep.
versus the ones that you try so hard on. But yeah, I've been having fun and just letting the creative energy move through me in silly ways because, the world needs it.
It does. It really does. And you're bringing more of that to the world. So thank you so
Yes.
much.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And yes, everyone go check her out and experience Embodied. And yeah, thank you all for spending your time and your energy with us today. Thank you, Nikki, for being here. And send this to someone who needs Embodied. Send this to someone who, even if you're like, yeah, okay, this is great, but I'm really thinking about someone else as well, like someone in your life who really needs this access to their body, the movement, and you have just been thinking about them the entire episode, send this
Mm.
to them so that they are inspired as well and tell them you are thinking of them because that is the greatest form of gratitude and friendship to just continue to share the wisdom that you are experiencing as well. So
Amen.
thank you so much. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye, everybody.
Yay.
Thank you so much for listening. I am incredibly grateful for your time and presence that you shared with me today. If you love this episode, be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And please share with a friend so we can continue to expand the light codes with our soul fam. If you're looking to transform your life from the inside out with multidimensional healing, see the show notes for more details on ways to work with me. See you next week for another episode of the Oh My Gosh, You're Glowing podcast.